Wow. Hi, everybody. So good to be here. I think the last time I was on a stage with this many people, I was 6 martinis in, and I rushed the stage at Caesar's Palace when Wayne Newton was performing. And I was gently ushered off. That's kind of how I like to drink and party. Everything was big and out of control. But it's an honor to be here with all of you in an amazing room full of amazing women who are all really searching, I suspect, for the same thing, you know, that feeling of connection. And I was just meditating in my room, not like I'm bragging or anything, but man, Sarah Blondin, can I just say how much I love that woman? But Sarah, you have time later. But I just want to say, like, that really just grounds me, you know. Anyway, so where do I start? Well, I'm an artist. I wasn't able to say that until I was about 50 years old, to finally say that I'm an artist. I am in recovery from many things: addiction, trauma, and of course, shame. And I think where I feel that this work is, oh my God, you guys, I'm so nervous. I felt like I was really good before I got up here. I'm like super nervous. Like I couldn't do anything like this without a drink in my hand or like an 8-ball. Like I couldn't do anything. I was terrified. So much so that my husband would say, oh my God, don't give her the microphone. Just don't give her the microphone. So what Dawn said, and then I'll add to it. I have notes, which I don't like to use, but I'm going to have to use them. So I created this art installation, which has turned into much more than just an interactive art installation. We have a podcast. And the amazing thing is that we are able to hear voices. We have created a platform for those who don't have one. And we're able to provide a place where people who are still wrestling with things that we've always kept silent, like Linda was saying, you know, growing up in a household where we looked perfect on the outside, but behind closed doors, things were very different. I have a slide, if somebody would like to pull that up, to show you just a little bit about what I was talking about. So this is my family, 1982. And it's really interesting. It's like you look at this family and you think, wow, they look ridiculous, but you know, my mother, who, you know, my father, whose alcoholism, you know, just and the violence and the fear that we lived in the house, and myself and my 2 sisters, and it looks really good on the outside. But that wasn't really what we were living in, you know, behind closed doors. I mean, the family was riddled with alcoholism, mental illness, eating disorder, institutionalization for mental illness, drug abuse, sexual assault, child abuse. I mean, just the list goes on and on. And it was just a place where you just didn't speak about what was really going on. You had to keep up a front. And then this next picture I'd like you to take a look at, because this is a really interesting picture. Now, if my kids knew that I brought this, they would kill me, because this is a horrible family photo. My husband thinks it's great because it's so awful. This picture was taken 20 years later from the previous picture. So that was 1982, this is 2002. And what's really interesting about this picture is 3 daughters, exactly the same. I married a husband a workaholic. I have 3 daughters who were dealing with similar issues from my family of origin. And in this case, my husband's not the alcoholic, I'm the alcoholic. And I tried so hard, I swore that I would never create the same environment that I was raised in. I swore that I was going to do things differently. And 20 years later, we found ourselves in the same exact place. Now, the difference here is my father had gotten sober, and the day before this picture was taken on Christmas Day, he pulled me aside and he said, "You're a disappointment, you're an alcoholic, and you have a problem with drinking. And if you continue down this path, it will not end well for you." Ha! I was pissed. How dare he? I was doing fine. Things looked great. I was room parent. I was doing carpool. I was sewing Halloween costumes. I was wrapping Christmas presents after an 8-ball of Coke on a late night Christmas party. But I mean, these presents weren't going to wrap themselves, and they looked really good. It was not going well. And during the course of those 8 years, my drinking really did take off. But my dad kind of planted that seed that I have a problem with drinking, so I started to kind of think about it, and there was starting to be this sense of shame that really started to grow. And I would say after a broken face, and my daughter starting to really struggle with some issues, some behavioral issues, some mental health issues, anxiety, eating disorder, my husband dealing with his own issues, his own demons. I realized that something had to change. And I won't go into all the details because that's not the point. The point is that I did have a moment of clarity. And what I realized is that I had to put my big girl panties on. I had to heal and get well, and I had to turn the ship around because somebody had to take care of this family. He couldn't do it. He wasn't ready or capable or well enough, but I had to do it. So I started in the rooms. And the amazing thing that was happening there was I was able to hear other women that were able to stand up with grace, compassion, and humor too. And they were sharing the same shit that I was feeling, the same stories that I was hiding, the stuff I was too afraid and ashamed to talk about, but they were doing it. And in the beginning, I felt such a relief. Like, wow, I thought I was so unique that none of this stuff was happening to anybody else, it's just me. And then I realized the power of listening to somebody else's story, being able to listen to it, being able to identify and then connect with them. I started to heal. And then what happened was I wanted to start talking about it outside of those rooms. Because I was in trouble. One of my kids was really, really in trouble. Her life was on the line. And after about 6 months of sobriety, my husband and we started working on our marriage. And things were hard. It was really hard. Just to 93 days sober, you're trying to stay sober, and then you've got this other thing happening. And what I realized is that I needed to start talking about what was going on inside my family with other people outside of those rooms. Now, I don't advise that on a regular basis because I would tell anybody, whether they wanted to hear it or not, from the annoying Uber driver to how's your day going so far. I'll tell you how my fucking day's going so far. I got a daughter who's trying to kill herself, a husband who I don't know what he's doing. I'm trying to just keep it together. But then I started to find other moms, other women who were struggling too with issues within their family, within their marriage, with other kids. And I started to realize the power of my story gave them permission to share theirs. And then I realized, so I'm talking about it now outside the rooms, so is there another way to bring this vehicle of being able to talk about shame to a greater audience and being introduced, not in person, but hopefully one day soon to Brene Brown. I love her so much, you guys. Oh my God, she's the best. So my daughter went off to treatment to get well, and then I started hearing about Brene Brown and shame and vulnerability, and you can't be vulnerable if you still got shame, but you can't be, if you want to be vulnerable, you want to connect with other people. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what I want. That's what I always wanted, was to connect in an authentic way with other people. So then I started to look at shame. What is shame? What is shame? And then realizing, well, I'm an artist. I wasn't able to say it yet. I'm like, what if we create this thing? We get a phone booth and we put a phone in it and then we'll call it SHAMEBOOTH. It's like, yeah, great, okay. Well, I realized I had all these ideas, but what I really needed to do was I needed to ask for help, and I needed to find people who believed in what I was doing and like assemble a team of people. And I'm so glad I did, because I have the most amazing people. I have my shame crew. I want to thank my Brenda Lucero. She's my Brenda. She's B Love. And Alicia Lynch, who's here, who also is part of my team, who I couldn't do. And my dream coach, who is here, Retta Rowland, who's really helped me bring this thing to life, because I couldn't do it by myself. And that was the thing I always realized growing up in a house where you never ask for help, because if you ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. So you have to do it yourself with grace and look good all the time, and don't fall apart. And I realized I needed help. So I created this team, and we've got this booth. And this thing about this booth is that we've got about 567 recordings, and I've listened to most of them, and I can't tell you the amount of what a privilege it is to be able to listen to these recordings that people have given their consent for us to listen to them and to use them in our podcasts and our listening experiences, which I hope that you will participate in this weekend, the Listening Lounge. It's beautiful and cozy inside. And we brought our booth here, which is in the International Ballroom. I hope you will also participate there. And I just want to share that, the power of sharing your story and lightening whatever is heavy on your heart, and somebody hears that, they're also going to be healed. And the idea that we all heal. I heal my family, and then I heal the community, and that's kind of what this project is all about. And inside of your, I also want to say, guess what? So Dawn, I got to interview her last week, Dawn Nickel, if she recovers, and the podcast is episode 11, and it's coming out tonight. It's great. Please go to iTunes and subscribe and listen to my interview with Dawn. It's so beautiful. And the only other thing, I do Instagram. It's the only thing I know how to do. I don't know how to do anything else. So if you're into Instagram, please go there. And I also want to thank our partners who are our podcast producer, Philip Wood, and where'd he go? There he is. He's like one of the only dudes here. He's a lovely man. Philip Wood and his wife Tanya, who helped me bring this all together. And what else? Inside your bag, there's a ticket. It's a ticket. Admit it. It's a ticket. And I want you to take that ticket this weekend. And I would love it if you guys would come and visit us at SHAMEBOOTH. Please come in, pick up the phone, and share a story of shame or anything really that's holding you back from being the woman that you were always meant to be. And then if you do that, you too can get a pair of big girl panties. Because you've earned them. So thank you all. I'm glad to be here.